Welcome to Mars.
So you said another thing that kept you out of trouble was music.
Yeah.
Tell me about your first memory of doing music or discovering music or finding out something like music was important to you. The first memory of it.
The first memory of music. Probably going to Tower Records. And the first album, rap album, I want to say, let's go back to Ensenada. I was in Tijuana.
Okay.
We would take a trip out to Tijuana and Ensenada every year for a while when I was growing up, and we went to the swap meet in Tijuana. And the first album that I bought was Public Enemy: Fear of a Black Planet. And I slapped that in with my headphones, and it blew my mind because of just what they were saying, the language they were using.
Was it something you had never heard before?
Yeah, it definitely was, because it was like listening to a movie, the way that album was put together.
Nice.
And then I just fell in love with it.
So you fell in love with it, but is that what made you think you could do it?
No, that did not officially happen until I was in junior high school.
Okay.
And I walked into my 7th grade science class. There was a gentleman there, Pookie Courtney Hall. Shout out to Pookie Courtney Hall. He was at his desk. I've told the story. I've told him. I've run into him and I thanked him. But he was at his desk and he was like, and I went up to him. I was like, "Hey, homie, what are you doing?"
Right.
And he was like, "I'm writing a rap." And I was like, "Bullshit, let me hear it." So he busted it. I was like, ugh. So I went home. No lie, bro. I came back the next day with 4 pages, margin to margin, full. I didn't know I could do it, but I just tried, and I got bit by that bug. And I went and I spit him to him. I was like, "Holy shit!" Yeah. So I just started doing it, and then I just navigated towards people that rap too in school, and it wasn't that many at that time.
Right.
Now you go fucking, everybody. Yeah. So, but I fell in love with it, bro. I'm a hip hop child for sure.
So the first memory you have of music is hearing pretty much something foreign to you that you'd never heard before, almost like the news or a movie, you said, over beats, right?
Yeah.
Then fast forward, you're in junior high science class with your guy, and he's doing something. Does it bring back the memory of what you heard through Public Enemy, or does it just something totally different that clicks like, hey, I can put words together as well?
Maybe subconsciously there was a correlation, but at that time I just was inspired. And it was just like probably seeing your presence under the Christmas tree, when you're a little kid. So I was juiced. I was juiced that I was even able to do it. I was calling people, busting my raps over the phone, and then that just continued. So yeah, I got bit by that bug. It was exciting. Hell yeah.
It was very exciting. So moving forward, right? Obviously, after getting that music bug, you move forward, getting around other people that do music, right? So that way you can get in the right circles and possibly learn how to put together a product. When did you start taking it serious and, grabbing studio time and formatting bars and learning how to write songs? When did you start? When did you take it to the next level, so to speak?
Shit, from the first rap I wrote, I was like, this is what I'm going to do for real. Like, that was my mentality.
You had a game plan right away.
Not a game plan, but I just knew that this is what I want to do. Like, I fucking want to blow up. But I started recording in a studio probably when I was 17, 18. There was a place called J-Lab Studios in Daly City. And I found it, and then I was able to put together a whole album. My first album was called Lost in the Game, and I all the people from that little area right there that I had an ear to, that I grew up, because when you grow up and you run into other people that are rapping, you don't forget those people. So I made friendships with them because growing up I wanted to be around people who rap. So we would have a freestyle circle. So I put them all on the album. And then from there, it was just, constant ascension for me. I wanted to just keep moving up. The next album I had, In the Face of Judas, I had Koobnut, rest in peace, Selsky, Quinn, JT, Mac Mall, The Outlaws, Yuckmouth, Sibo, hella people. So that was the second album. And then from there, that's when I hooked up with Julio Gotos, and Julio, and I did the album with him, and then we've been rocking ever since. So it's just been constantly. I wrap one project up, and I'm already like, okay, what's next?
So early since the beginning, you found more success than the average artist, because average artists aren't able to put together features and roster like that, like you did for yours, you know, working with great artists like that, what was it that enabled you to get, you know, up the ranks so quick? Because most people struggle to count bars and figure out how to put an album. Here you are, first time out, and you got, you know, you're off to the races. How was that? How did that come about?
Well, I became a student quickly because when you get into the studio, you know, the engineers are like talking about bars. I didn't know what the fuck bars were. I was like, what do you mean? Like happy hour? You know? But
Exactly.
so I figured it out because to me, a bar was one complete rhyme, right? But to them, that one bar was 2 bars. So I just did the math in my head. Okay, so my 8 bars is really a 16.
Right.
How to do it. So then I just, from then on, I multiplied it, right? But I did my first album cover, Lost in the Game, was done by this dude named Khan. Serious Artifacts. And he had did Selsky's Canadian Bacon album cover, and he had did Killer Tay's Mafioso album cover. So I was like, hey bro, can you get me in contact with them? He was like, yeah, all good. So he got me in contact with Selsky, and he got me in contact with Killer Tay. I hit Selsky up, and then we coordinated something. And when he got to the studio, he had this other dude, this tall black dude with him, and the dude comes up to me and he goes, hey, what up? And I was like, oh shit, that's Cougnut. Right. You know, and Selsky was like, this is Cougnut. You might want to holler at him about getting on the song too. Right. So that's how that happened. I ended up doing this song called Sunset to Sunrise, and I had Cougnut and Selsky on that, and that shit, that's still one of my favorite songs. That's the first time I've ever did a song with somebody I grew up listening to. And it was them two, and I was listening to do their verses, and it was like I was listening to one of their songs. And then the engineer was like, it's your turn. And to me, that was like a life-altering moment to be able to collab with my peers.
Absolutely. It's probably like being able to shoot hoops with an NBA player.
Yeah, to me.
You know what I mean? Like, you and Clay are just over there shooting free throws or shooting threes or something.
And seeing their process, they're both animals in the booth. You know, 2 of the dopest from that section.
Absolutely. Selsky's still doing music to this day.
Yeah, he is. Shout out to Selsky. He's one of the coolest, most humble dudes I know. Whenever I see Selsky, it's always love.
Awesome, awesome. So, so when did you start getting most of your popularity? Which album was it? Was it after you got with Gold Toes? Was it that first one? Was it the one with Selsky and your features? Or when did you gain your momentum and popularity?
I think it just gradually, like with every project, it was like another level that would enhance, as you would say, popularity. And shit, we're still going. You know what I mean? We're still we're still pushing. The Black and Brown album definitely put me on a different radar. Right. You know, because Black and Brown at that time had a built-in fan base, so that exposed me to that fan base. And the album prior to that, with all the I was blessed enough to have a lot of features, that opened some eyes as well. So it's just been every project I feel like has exposed me to different people, and has kept some of the people from the previous people that latched on. So
it's kind of like adding on to your fan base little by little.
Yeah, just the resume just keeps building.
And tell me about the crossover process as far as the fan base, because obviously you have the Latin community, but then doing projects and songs and collaborations with some of the other type of artists. How has that been to be able to cross your fan base over like that? So that way you're just not just on the Latin side or just on the Black side, more of an area, more of a district, more of a style and a flavor.
I've never really looked at it, especially early on. I never really tripped off, oh, he's this or he's that. Growing up, at first, it was more collaborations with Black artists because there wasn't as many Latin artists that were doing it.
That's the truth, for sure.
So it was just kind of by default, right? I had homies. Shout out my boy Chopper. We did a group called the Hardheads, and he was one of the other Latin cats that were doing it at that time. But I never really tripped, bro. Like, it's just whoever was doing rap, that's who I was collaborating with. And then, because I learned Spanish to speak Spanish before I learned how to speak English.
Right. Like, Spanish is your first language?
Yeah, I learned English watching Sesame Street, shit like that,
Maria.
Yeah, But, so as I got older, that's when I started to experiment with the Spanish stuff. And I got whole songs in Spanish that I've done. And I noticed a different response from them, and like more of I could play my Spanish stuff for a wider range of like audiences.
Right.
I feel like even like my parents, I could play the Spanish stuff for them, you know, and they trip off of it because they can understand what I'm saying.
It's weird to explain, but you get almost more listens, right, when you put the Spanish flavor on it. They feel threatened less by it or something like that. I don't know how to explain it either, but more people are more open to the Spanish stuff that I've done myself as opposed to the other stuff that, you know, the people that won't give it a chance, they might when it's Spanish involved and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So I've noticed also it's another fan base because like you can do the clubs and stuff with the regular music, but when you put the Spanish twist on it, now you're open up to like car shows and you know what I mean, different Latino functions and stuff. So that's why I say the fan base, it crosses over because it's, you know, you're still doing you, but it's cool because it's almost like another fan base.
Yeah, and the people like gente se mueve.
Yes.
You know, it comes on, it's like you see, and you know, the girls like to dance to it. And,
Absolutely.
You know, if the girls are feeling it, then by default, the guys are going to feel it.
Absolutely. Dudes want what the girls want. And the girls are your biggest fans. I learned that from Pac.
Pac said it best.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.